So make sure you have your ELA notebook. And under your ELA notebook, under topic or table of contents, the next place you have, put making inferences. Then turn to that page, so whether it's page 3, 4, whatever page it is for you. Turn to that page and at the top put making inferences. And also put your name, date, subject. First and last name. Yes, Nick?
Name, 8/31/20. ELA, Ella.
There you go. Make sure you have all that done. When you're done, just give me a thumbs up so I know you're ready to go. Ty, question? Alright, Ethan's done good. I'm done. Everyone's done. Everyone's done. Excellent. Okay, guys, to kick this off, I'm going to put a few scenarios that I'm going to act out. Here's what your job is to do. Your job is to try to figure out what do you think is going on. Eyes up here. Once you're done, eyes up here. So I'm going to act out a few different scenarios. Your job, again, is simply to watch and then try to figure out what's going on. Okay? So you got a book to read?
Is this part of the action?
You heard it, man. Take out a book and read. Hey, real.
Okay. Who can tell me,
What?
based on, I'm just done me acting, guys, this scenario I said, put the books away. Based on how I acted, who can tell me what is happening? Here's some answers. What is happening? Headache? What's happening? Somebody broke up with me? What's happening?
You're being depressed?
You're depressed? What's happening?
Came in mad or you were stressed about something.
Okay, what's happening?
That's
Matt? Okay. Let me ask you a question, guys, real quick. Did I tell you what was happening?
No.
So how did you figure out that I might have been headache? I might have been upset. I might have been depressed. I might have been, what did you say? Just upset or depressed or mad? What helped you to know that? Why did you think that? Nick, why did you think that?
You came in the room with your hands on your head. You didn't say anything.
Because let me stop you there. Nick said I came in the room with my hands on my head. So that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
Well, Nick, what do you know that lets you know that that might mean that I'm upset? What do you already know?
That some people don't talk and put their head down when they're upset.
Okay, so Nick saw that I came in and I had my hands on my head. That's what he saw.
Mostly me.
He already knew that in the past when he's seen people do that, it's because they're upset. So he's guessing that Mr. Clark might be upset. Okay? We're going to go?
Or it could have been said no teacher right here. You told us to sit quietly and finish our work, and you left out. You didn't really go to the bathroom. You went to the camera and you seen people just acting up.
Could have been. Okay? These are all different things. All right, let's do the next scenario.
Can we help?
Ready?
Yeah,
Next
we're
scenario.
How to do right down?
In these scenarios, key thing, guys, is I'm acting, so there's no talking happening. You're just watching, okay? No talking. No sound, no talking. Get out. Head down. Not a word. Stop tapping. Okay. Raise your hands who can tell me. What is happening? What is happening?
You got Superman slam the door.
Okay, I'm super mad.
Something wrong. Somebody got to open it.
So you're thinking upset because something broke my house.
Last year when we went to boot camp mode,
Oh, because of boot camp mode we did last year.
we been extremely mean.
extremely mean.
You're being me when I'm angry.
Okay?
The camera phone you saw me.
Say that one more time.
I said the camera phone you saw me.
I was surprised I saw something in the camera.
No, you saw us doing
Saw you guys doing some camera. Okay? So how did you know these things? How did you know I'm upset because of the camera? Or maybe something happened at home? Or maybe something. How do you know that I'm upset? Maybe that's just how I act. How do you know that's how I'm upset? How do you know, David?
Real mad, your face was red.
I came in, mad face red, slammed the door. And what do you know about that?
And then you told us to put our heads.
Sorry, say it.
And you told us to put our heads down.
Yep. So what do you know though about slamming doors? What do you already know about that?
You're not supposed to slam them.
I do.
What happens when people slam doors?
They're usually trouble.
It makes too much noise.
They're doing that why? Because they're mad, right? So Davion saw that I slammed the door. That's what he saw. His background knowledge, his brain is telling him, last time he saw somebody slam a door, it's because they were really mad, right? Excellent. All right.
Seen him?
Take a look up here, guys. That is what an inference is.
An educated guess.
An inference is taking what you see and what you already know, and essentially, as Nick's blurted out, last year, Ms. Park always said, you're making an educated guess. You're making a prediction. You're making an inference is what it's called. So go ahead on your paper. I tried to draw a book. Didn't do very well. But you can just write a book. What is in the text plus what you know or your background knowledge is how you infer or make an inference. You figure out something about the text that the author doesn't tell you. An educated guess. So you're thinking about the text, you're thinking about the details you saw, what's the evidence in the text. You're using what you already know. So Davion already knew that slamming doors generally means somebody's mad. Okay? You guys saw when I came in, Nick said, generally when someone's like rubbing their head a lot, usually it's because they're upset or maybe they're not feeling well. He already knew that. I didn't tell him that. No one told him that. It was already in his brain. So an inference is taking what you see in the text or picture or action or whatever's happening and what you already know, which is your background knowledge of what you already know, and you're making an inference. So go ahead and write this down. You don't have to draw the pictures if you don't want to. You can simply just write what is in the text plus what you know, background knowledge. If you want to draw the pictures, you can, but you don't have to. Okay? Nick?
Literally sponsoring me.
All right. Right.
Did I say black? What?
Where are you looking at? Background.
Oh.
Sorry, I messed up right here. I had to do a little funny R. GR. Question?
I put one over into my own. See that?
As long as it's doing the same thing.
It did the same thing, except shorter.
Yes, Nick?
You just had to let everyone know that that was a book. You had to, man.
You did do good with the book. You should have just like just do lines down from it. Should have closed or something. Should have closed it.
Good chance for everybody to write this down. Good, and then write infer. What can you infer? What is your inference? What can you infer? What is your inference? What's your plus? Stop. You're supposed to read that. That's your title.
I'm done.
Make sure you have your title. I saw one person didn't have title. Make sure it's up there. Yep.
Hold on, work this thing.
All right. When we are making an inference and we're writing it down, there's a certain formula or a certain way that you can write it. Now, you can either do the inference first or the inference last. That's your choice. But there's a certain way that you have to have all the information to explain to somebody. So, for example, when I came in and slammed the door, went to my table, obviously very mad,
No, not on paper.
If I were to ask you, make an inference on what happened, you can't just say, you're mad. Because there's other things you need to add. And that's what we're going to look at. When you are doing this, you need to have your inference, your evidence, what you saw, and your background knowledge. So when you're sharing an inference, you cannot just share the inference. You've got to share your evidence, and you have to share your background knowledge. So what we're going to do is we're going to make two inference statements right here on the two situations that just happened. So first, Mr. Clark came in, rubbing his head, he was talking real softly, told everybody to read their books, went and sat on his desk. Second scenario was he came in, slammed the door, kind of barking at everybody, yelling at them, telling them to do their work. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. What actually was happening was I was trying to show them that Mr. Clark did have a headache and wasn't feeling well. So, we're going to say our inference first.
So I got right.
We're going to write this down. I think Mr. Clark has a headache. Comma. Because, right here we say because he came in, we said rubbing his head, right? Because he came in rubbing his head. That's the evidence you saw. That's your evidence. Now your background knowledge lets you know that when I've seen people rubbing their head before, because their head hurts. So my inference is, I think Mr. Clark has a headache because he came in rubbing his head. And when I've seen people rubbing their head, it's because it hurts. So in this scenario, I wrote my inference first. What is my inference? I think Mr. Clark has a headache. Right here. That is my actual inference. That is my actual inference. That's my guess. Wait till we finish this. Okay. My evidence, in this case, is actually what I saw. When you're reading a book, it's going to be the details in the text. Okay? So right now, we didn't read a text. This is just what you saw in the scenario. When you're reading a book and we're reading The King's Shadow, and I say make an inference on blank, you're going to look for evidence we talked about in the text. Okay? So right here, came in rubbing his head. This is my evidence. So inference, evidence, and this last part here. This, my background knowledge. This is my inference. The full part. When you are given an inference, you cannot simply just give this part. You've got to support your answer. So if Tamir said, I think Ethan didn't sleep last night, well, I'd say, well, hang on. Why do you think that? And Tamir would be like, well, Ethan came in today and kind of like put his head down. And whenever I don't sleep well, I come in and put my head down. So I think he didn't sleep well. Okay? The evidence he saw was that Ethan put his head down. His background knowledge is when he has done that, it's because he was sleepy. And so his inference or his educated guess is Ethan probably didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Okay?
Sorry, it's right here.
No, it doesn't.